Your mind is the control center of your life. Everything you are experiencing right now, whether good or bad, flows from the condition of your thoughts. The greatest battles in life are not fought in your circumstances, they are fought in your mind. If you want to change your life, you must first reset your mind. Because the truth is this, your life will always move in the direction of your most dominant thoughts. Negative thoughts are like weeds. You don't have to plant them, they grow by themselves. If you don't deal with them quickly, they will take over the garden of your mind. They will choke out your peace, strangle your joy, and rob you of your destiny. That is why you cannot afford to entertain them, not even for a moment. The moment a negative thought shows up, you must catch it, confront it, and cancel it. Let me tell you something important. You cannot stop birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest in your hair. In the same way, you cannot stop a negative thought from flashing through your mind, but you can stop it from taking root. The key is instant action. Don't argue with it. Don't meditate on it. Don't nurse it. Replace it instantly with truth. Replace it with a thought that is aligned with your purpose, your faith, and your destiny. Resetting your mind means choosing your thoughts intentionally. Every time you say, I can't, reset and declare, I can do all things. Every time you hear the whisper, you're not good enough, reset and affirm, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Every time the thought comes, it's too late, reset and declare, my times are in His hands. You cannot afford to let your mind wander aimlessly, because where your mind goes, your life follows. Some of you have been carrying negative thoughts for years. Thoughts of failure, rejection, disappointment. Thoughts that were planted by other people's opinions. But hear me, you cannot have a positive life with a negative mind. You cannot step into your future while rehearsing your past. You must evict those thoughts and install a new program. Just like a computer slows down when viruses invade, your mind cannot function properly when negativity is in control. But the moment you reset, the moment you clear the virus and download the truth, your life begins to accelerate again. Do not underestimate the power of one thought. One thought can chain you in fear for years, but one thought of faith can set you free in an instant. One thought of defeat can stop you from pursuing your calling, but one thought of victory can push you into destiny. That's why you must guard your mind more than anything else. What you feed your mind will feed your future. When you wake up each morning, you are not just getting out of bed, you are stepping into a battlefield. But you have the authority to decide which thoughts will win. Negative thoughts only have power when you agree with them. The moment you reject them and replace them with truth, their power is broken. That is how you stop them instantly. So today, make a decision, reset your mind. Don't let yesterday's failures, people's opinions, or your own fears dictate your thoughts. Fill your mind with what builds, not what breaks. Train yourself to think on purpose, not by accident. And every time a negative thought arises, remember, you have the power to stop it instantly and reset your mind for victory. Your life is not shaped primarily by your environment, your family background, or even the opportunities that come your way. It is shaped by your thoughts. Every action you take, every decision you make, and every habit you develop is first born as a thought in your mind. The truth is simple but profound. Your life will always move in the direction of your most dominant thoughts. If your mind is filled with fear, your life will reflect timidity and hesitation. If your mind is filled with doubt, your decisions will be marked by hesitation and missed opportunities. If your mind is filled with possibility, you will see doors where others see walls. What occupies your thought life will eventually occupy your reality. Your thoughts are like the steering wheel of your life. No matter how powerful the engine is, no matter how much fuel is in the tank, the car cannot move forward without the direction of the wheel. In the same way, no matter how much potential you carry, no matter how many gifts and talents are inside of you, if your thoughts are not aligned with your destiny, you will drift in circles. Many people pray for change in their lives, yet they never change their thinking. They want a new season, but they still think with the mindset of the old season. Until your thoughts shift, your life cannot shift. Every great achievement begins with a thought. A business empire starts with the thought of an idea. A great invention begins with the thought of possibility. A life of faith begins with the thought that God is able. But the opposite is also true. Every downfall begins with a thought. Despair begins with a thought of hopelessness. Addiction begins with a thought of escape. Failure begins with a thought that says, I can't. That's why the most important work you can do every day is not just with your hands, but with your mind. If your thoughts are healthy, your life will be healthy. If your thoughts are broken, your life will follow. Think about the way a seed works. A single seed planted in the soil, watered consistently, and given time will grow into a tree. In the same way, a single thought planted in the mind, rehearsed consistently, and meditated upon will grow into an attitude, an action, and eventually a lifestyle. If the seed is good, it will bear good fruit. If the seed is bad, it will bear bad fruit. Some people don't realize that the frustration they are living in today is the harvest of the thoughts they planted yesterday. You cannot plant seeds of defeat in your mind and expect to reap a harvest of victory in your life. You cannot dwell on thoughts of lack and expect abundance to chase you down. You cannot fill your mind with negativity and expect to walk in peace. Your most dominant thoughts are like the atmosphere of your soul. They create the climate in which your life functions. Just as plants cannot grow in toxic soil, your potential cannot flourish in a toxic thought life. Negative thinking poisons progress. Fearful thinking paralyzes dreams. Limiting thoughts build invisible walls around your destiny. But when you shift your thoughts, when you begin to dominate your mind with faith, vision, and truth, you change the atmosphere of your soul, and suddenly the seeds of greatness already inside you find room to grow. Consider this: your mind does not rest. Even when you are sleeping, your thoughts are active. That means your mind is either working for you or against you all the time. It is either pulling you toward destiny or dragging you toward defeat. The deciding factor is what you choose to feed it. If you feed it discouragement, fear, and doubt, that is the direction your life will move. But if you feed it faith, hope, and purpose, your life will rise to that level. Your most dominant thoughts set the course of your life. That is why you cannot take your thought life lightly. Every day, you must become aware of what is dominating your mind. Ask yourself, what thoughts am I allowing to control me? Are they thoughts of victory or thoughts of defeat? Are they thoughts that align with my purpose or thoughts that oppose it? Your future does not begin when the calendar turns. It begins when your thinking turns. Transformation does not start with what happens around you. It starts with what happens within you. The moment you decide to shift your dominant thoughts, you begin to shift your life. You negative thoughts are not harmless. They are not simply fleeting clouds that pass through the sky of your mind. They are like weeds that show up uninvited, growing quickly, spreading silently, and choking everything good if you do not deal with them. You never have to plant weeds. They appear on their own. In the same way, you don't have to invite negative thoughts. They will arrive without permission. But if you leave them unattended, they will multiply until your whole thought life is overrun. The most important thing to understand is that you cannot ignore them, because ignoring them gives them permission to grow stronger. You must catch them the moment they appear, confront them with truth, and cancel their influence immediately. Catching negative thoughts requires awareness. Most people live on autopilot, unaware of what is running through their minds. They allow thoughts of fear, comparison, jealousy, failure, or insecurity to sit in their minds without challenge. Over time, those unchecked thoughts create a mindset, and that mindset creates a lifestyle. That is why the first step to defeating negativity is catching it. You cannot conquer what you do not identify. Every time a thought arises that contradicts your purpose, your peace, or your faith, you must be quick to recognize it as a weed that does not belong in the garden of your mind. Once you catch a negative thought, you cannot simply observe it. You must confront it. Confrontation means exposing it for what it really is: a lie, an exaggeration, a distortion of truth, or a replay of past pain that no longer defines you. Negative thoughts thrive in secrecy, but they lose their power when you shine the light of truth on them. For example, the thought might say, "You will never succeed." Confrontation says, "That is a lie, because I am equipped with gifts and resources to fulfill my purpose." The thought might whisper, "Nobody cares about you." Confrontation declares, "I am deeply valued, and I have people who love me." Confronting a negative thought is not pretending it doesn't exist. It is meeting it with a higher reality that cancels its effect. Canceling a negative thought means you do not allow it to stay in your mental space. You evict it. You replace it with truth. You refuse to give it energy, attention, or agreement. Canceling is decisive. It is not entertaining the thought, not arguing with it, not playing with it. It is saying, "You don't belong here. and shutting the door. If a weed grows in your yard and you simply cut off the top, it will grow back. To truly cancel it, you must pull it up by the root. Negative thoughts must be uprooted at their source, which means refusing to meditate on them or give them a place in your identity. They are not who you are, they are not your future, and they do not deserve to be rehearsed. Many people wonder why they struggle with anxiety, fear, or discouragement, not realizing that these conditions are often the fruit of unchecked thoughts. Just as weeds choke healthy plants by stealing nutrients, negative thoughts choke healthy emotions by draining energy and focus. You can have joy in your spirit, but negativity in your mind will suffocate it. You can have vision in your heart, but negativity in your thoughts will bury it. That is why it is not enough to simply hope for peace or pray for success. You must actively cancel every thought that works against them. Think of the mind as a filter. Whatever you allow through that filter will flow into your heart and eventually into your life. If you catch confront and cancel negative thoughts at the filter, they will never have the chance to contaminate your soul. But if you let them pass through, they will not only affect how you feel, but also how you speak, how you act, and what you expect. Words of defeat come from thoughts of defeat. Choices of fear come from thoughts of fear. The filter must be protected, and the filter is your thought life. The difference between a mind that is healthy and a mind that is toxic is not the absence of negative thoughts, but the ability to deal with them quickly. Everyone experiences them. The question is, do you let them build a home or do you evict them immediately? Catching them is awareness. Confronting them is courage. Canceling them is authority. When you practice these 3 steps consistently, you build a disciplined mind that refuses to be a breeding ground for weeds. Instead, you cultivate a mental environment where only truth, peace, and purpose are allowed to grow. You cannot control every thought that enters your mind, but you can control which ones you allow to stay and take root. Thoughts will always come. Some will be uplifting, others will be discouraging, some will be filled with faith, others with fear. Just as you cannot stop birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest in your hair, you cannot stop thoughts from passing through your mind, but you can stop them from building a home. The difference between a passing thought and a rooted thought is permission. The moment you give a thought permission to stay, it begins to grow roots in your life. This truth shifts the way you see your thought life. You may not be responsible for the thoughts that flash across your mind, but you are responsible for which ones you nurture. A thought of anger may rise, but you choose whether to replay it until bitterness is born. A thought of fear may appear, but you choose whether to meditate on it until anxiety takes over. A thought of doubt may whisper in your ear, but you decide whether to let it grow until faith is suffocated. Thoughts do not have power until you agree with them. Agreement is the water that turns a passing thought into a rooted belief. The key is learning to treat your mind like the doorway to your life. Every thought is a visitor that knocks at the door. You do not have to welcome every visitor. Some must be turned away immediately. The moment a thought of negativity, failure, or defeat comes, you must recognize it as an intruder. If you let it in, it will not just sit quietly, it will start rearranging the furniture of your soul, shifting how you feel, what you see, and how you act. But if you refuse entry, it has no power to change your life. The thoughts you entertain determine the reality you experience. Think about the way seeds work in a field. Farmers know that seeds will always try to take root if they fall into soil, but not all seeds should be given that chance. Some seeds are weeds, and if they are allowed to take root, they will destroy the harvest. In the same way, thoughts are seeds. Some are seeds of hope, purpose, and peace. Others are seeds of fear, doubt, and discouragement. The soil is your mind. The soil does not decide what grows. It simply grows what is planted and watered. If you water good thoughts, you reap good fruit. If you water negative thoughts, you reap destructive fruit. That is why discernment is critical, knowing which thoughts to plant and which ones to reject. This is also why discipline in thought life is not optional. If you allow your mind to wander freely, it will always drift toward negativity because that is the path of least resistance. It takes no effort to dwell on what went wrong, to replay mistakes, or to imagine the worst possible outcome. But it takes intentional effort to focus on truth, to rehearse victory, and to meditate on hope. Just like muscles in the body, your ability to reject negative thoughts and embrace positive ones grows stronger with practice. Every time you refuse to let a negative thought take root, you are training your mind for greater resilience. The reality is that thoughts have consequences. They are not abstract ideas that float away harmlessly. They create beliefs, and beliefs create actions, and actions create results. A rooted thought of inadequacy will eventually manifest in missed opportunities. A rooted thought of fear will eventually manifest in paralyzed decisions. A rooted thought of unworthiness will eventually manifest in unhealthy relationships. But in the same way, a rooted thought of faith will manifest in bold actions. A rooted thought of peace will manifest in calm under pressure. A rooted thought of purpose will manifest in determination to keep moving forward. Your reality follows the roots you allow to grow. You must train yourself to become the gatekeeper of your own mind. Do not allow every thought to cross the threshold. Guard the door carefully, because not every thought deserves residency. Passing thoughts will always come, but residency is by invitation only. The strength of your future depends on how well you guard the soil of your mind, choosing to allow only those thoughts that align with your purpose, your vision, and your destiny to take root and grow. You replacing negativity with truth that aligns with your purpose and destiny is not just a mental exercise, it is a spiritual discipline and a practical necessity. Negative thoughts will always try to occupy your mind, but the only way to defeat them is by replacing them with something stronger. You cannot erase a thought by wishing it away, but you can overpower it by planting a greater truth. Darkness cannot be removed by sweeping. It disappears when light is introduced. In the same way, negativity is not defeated by struggling against it, but by filling the mind with truth that speaks louder. Every time a thought of failure arises, you must replace it with a truth that declares possibility. When your mind whispers, "You cannot handle this challenge," you replace it with, "I am equipped for everything I face." When the thought says, "You are not good enough," you replace it with, "I have been created with intention and I carry unique gifts." Replacement is powerful because it shifts the focus from what is false to what is true, from what limits to what empowers. The battle is never just about removing the negative, it is about installing the positive. If you uproot weeds, but do not plant good seeds, the soil will invite weeds to grow again. This is why alignment with your purpose and destiny is critical. Not every positive thought will move you forward, only the ones that are consistent with who you are created to be will sustain you. A person without purpose may fill their mind with motivational ideas, but without alignment, those thoughts fade quickly. Purpose gives truth its anchor. When you know where you are going, it becomes easier to choose which thoughts deserve space in your mind. Thoughts that push you toward your purpose are worth meditating on. Thoughts that pull you away from your destiny must be rejected. Alignment acts as the filter, keeping your mind clear and your path straight. Consider how the human body works. If you eat food that is nutritious, your body becomes stronger, your energy rises, and your health improves. If you consume junk repeatedly, your body weakens and disease finds a way in. The same is true for your mind. Feeding it with thoughts of truth, hope, and purpose strengthens your inner life and builds resilience against negativity. Feeding it with toxic thoughts makes you weak, vulnerable, and unstable. Just as the body cannot thrive without nourishment, the mind cannot flourish without consistent truth. The truth you replace negativity with must be spoken, not just thought. Thoughts gain strength when they are declared. Words reinforce what the mind believes. When you speak truth aloud, it echoes back into your hearing and imprints itself deeper in your soul. If you only fight negativity silently, it lingers longer. But when you respond with truth in your own voice, you create a shield that pushes negativity back. Speaking truth is like turning up the volume of light in a dark room. It leaves no space for shadows to dominate. This is also why intentional meditation is vital. Negativity thrives on repetition, and so does truth. A negative thought repeated over and over creates fear and discouragement. A positive truth meditated upon day after day creates confidence and peace. The mind does not care what it hears most often. It will eventually accept repetition as reality. That means you have the power to program your life by programming your thoughts. Whatever you repeat consistently becomes the dominant voice in your life. To replace negativity effectively, you must rehearse truth until it becomes automatic. Replacing negativity is not about pretending challenges do not exist. It is about refusing to let those challenges define your thinking. You acknowledge reality, but you interpret it through truth. The fact may be that you failed at something yesterday, but the truth is that failure is not your identity. The fact may be that you face obstacles, but the truth is that you carry the strength to overcome them. Replacement gives you a new lens. It trains your mind to see situations not as limitations, but as opportunities for growth and alignment with destiny. What you replace negativity with will either confine you or release you. If you allow false beliefs to fill the space, your mind becomes a prison. But if you replace those false beliefs with truth, your mind becomes a launching pad. Replacement is not passive. It is an active choice you make every single time a negative thought arises. The more intentional you are about replacing negativity with truth, the more your life aligns with the future you are meant to live. Guarding your mind daily is one of the most important responsibilities you have, because what you feed your mind will eventually feed your future. The mind is like fertile soil that never rests. It will grow whatever is planted in it, whether intentionally or by accident. If you allow good seed, thoughts of hope, vision, and truth to be planted, your life will flourish. But if you allow weeds, thoughts of fear, doubt, and negativity to be sown, your life will struggle. The soil does not choose the seed, the gardener does. You are the gardener of your own mind, and what you allow to be sown in it will determine the kind of harvest you see in your life. Guarding your mind is not something you do once in a while. It is a daily practice. Just as a watchman stays at his post day and night, your thoughts require constant vigilance. One day of negligence can allow destructive thoughts to creep in unnoticed. It is not enough to have moments of clarity or bursts of inspiration. Consistency is the key. Every day, you must decide what enters your mind and what is kept out. The thoughts you entertain today are shaping the person you will become tomorrow. That is why daily guarding is essential, because your future depends on the discipline of your mind in the present. One of the most practical ways to guard your mind is to be careful about the information you consume. Your environment is always feeding you. The voices you listen to, the media you watch, the conversations you engage in, all plant seeds in your mind. If you constantly feed on negativity, criticism, or fear-driven messages, your thoughts will naturally bend in that direction. If you surround yourself with voices of faith, wisdom, and encouragement, your thoughts will begin to align with truth and strength. Guarding your mind means being intentional about your intake, filtering out what does not serve your destiny, and welcoming only what builds you up. Guarding your mind also requires self-awareness. Thoughts do not always arrive from the outside. Sometimes they rise from within, from past experiences, wounds, or disappointments. Left unchecked, those inner voices can replay old failures and keep you trapped in cycles of regret. You must be vigilant enough to recognize when those inner echoes are trying to dominate your present. Guarding means refusing to allow yesterday's pain to dictate today's mindset. It means reminding yourself that while you cannot change the past, you can refuse to let it poison your future. Another key aspect of guarding your mind is discipline and focus. The human mind cannot think about everything at once. It will magnify whatever it focuses on. If you focus on problems, they will appear larger. If you focus on opportunities, they will expand before your eyes. Guarding your mind means training it to dwell on what is life, giving instead of what is draining. It means choosing to magnify truth over lies, solutions over obstacles, and hope over despair. Focus is like a magnifying glass. Whatever you place it on grows stronger in your life. Guarding your mind daily also means reinforcing it with affirmations of truth. Just as a fortress must be strengthened to resist attacks, your mind must be built up with strong foundations that negativity cannot easily penetrate. Repetition is the tool. You may not feel strong every day, but declaring truth consistently creates mental walls that protect against the invasion of lies. When you affirm your value, your purpose, and your destiny, you are not just speaking words, you are constructing guardrails that prevent destructive thoughts from running loose in your life. It is also important to understand that guarding your mind is not about isolation, but about direction. You cannot avoid every negative voice or circumstance, but you can decide how much influence they will have. A guarded mind is not closed off from reality. It is anchored in truth so deeply that reality cannot shake it. The storms of life will come, challenges will arise, criticism will be spoken, but a guarded mind remains steady. It hears the noise but chooses the signal. It sees the chaos but focuses on the vision. Guarding your mind gives you stability in an unstable world. Ultimately, the future belongs to those who discipline their thoughts with intentionality. The opportunities you pursue, the risks you take, the courage you display, all are rooted in the condition of your mind. If you neglect it, your future will be left vulnerable to the influence of negativity. But if you guard it daily, your future will be nourished by thoughts that are aligned with strength, clarity, and purpose. What you feed your mind today becomes the substance of your life tomorrow, and guarding it is the key to ensuring that your future is fed with the right kind of nourishment.